Okay, so in the last video, we learned how to sketch and we learned how to extrude. Now we have a 2x1 block in free space. What do? We need to turn it into a tube. So we're going to use our very first feature script, the Tube Converter. We're going to select the feature script, Tube Converter. It's going to bring up a dialog box, just like before. And we're going to select a body to convert. Most of this is default settings. The only thing that we're worried about that we're going to change is we're going to change the 2-inch face style. We're going to go with Versa with a custom spacing. Our hole spacing is going to be 0.5. You can leave the hole size as 0.196. This is for a number 10 bolt, like a 1032. Okay, we're going to keep everything else the same. Wall thickness and hole spacing are typically the only things that we're going to change. We're going to leave the hole spacing at 0.5, and we're going to change our wall thickness to 0.125. This is 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now we're going to select our body, and we're going to hit enter. Boom. Now we have our very first tube. Okay, let's say we want to make a second tube in this same part studios. So I previously made this 30 inches, right? But we can't make this 30 inches forever. What if I want to be able to modify this part on the fly? This is where the power of variables comes in. Up here, at the very top, there's a variable button. There's also a variable button off the side. They do two different things. A variable table allows you to visually see all of your variables in your workspace at one time. You can also create a variable studio. This contains variables across your entire document. This means both your part studio and your assembly. Okay? If you wanted to use them in multiple part studios or something like that. We're going to only focus on a standard variable right now. We're going to create a variable. We're going to call it, I'm going to call it length. And this is a variable that I am going to modify. So I'm going to put caps lock on. Right? It's my standard convention that anything that's off the shelf or standard, like 0.196 is a number 10 bolt. That would be lowercase t-e-n. That way I can very quickly see which are variables that I'm editing and which are variables that are standardized. And then we're going to type 30 inches in here, right? Click enter. Now we have this variable, but we can't use it in anything above us on the timeline. This is where Onshape is really cool. You have a timeline of events. First we did a sketch, then we did an extrude, then we did a tube conversion. It changed the name of our part when we did the tube conversion automatically. Okay? There's a feature timeline and there's a part list. In here, we need to move the variable above the sketch so that we can use it inside of the sketch or inside of anything below it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here to extrude, and I'm going to select this 30 that I put in here, and I'm going to type pound length. Notice how it didn't change any size because it's still 30 inches. Now let's go ahead and change it to 28 inches, right? I'm going to change this to 28 inches. Notice it got smaller, very slightly. If we want to see it more drastically, I'm going to change it to 10 inches. Very small now. We're going to change it back to 24 inches. Yeah, I'm going to change it to 24 inches. Okay. Now let's say I need to build, obviously I'm building a robot, so I need more than one tube. I'm going to press Shift S, brings up my sketch dialog box. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my 2x1. I'm going to select the side of the 2x1 right here as my plane. Notice it brings up a plane. It brings up a sketch pane. I'm going to snap my cube on the top right to it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch off of this axis. I'm going to use a corner triangle, the G button. And I'm going to select here. I'm just going to drag it. I've constrained this corner to the corner of the tube, right? And now I'm going to dimension this. Let's say I want this to be 1 inch again. Could be anything, but I want it to be 1 inch again. 2 inches. Okay. Got my square, I'm good. I got my rectangle, I'm good. Click enter, boom. Now I have a little sketch right here. Okay. Here's where things get interesting. I can do Shift E, extrude, other direction. Now I'm going to type in, oh, I can actually type in a variable. I haven't created a variable yet, but Onshape is smart enough to know when I create a variable on the fly, it knows to put it above whatever feature I'm working on. So here, I'm going to type, instead of a number, I'm going to type pound, and I'm going to type new variable. And I'm going to put a variable in there for 26 inches. Okay? So I'm going to put width is my name. I'm going to do width. And I'm going to put 26 inches. Be sure to use your units. Boom. And I'm going to press enter. And this is going to make it 26 inches. Okay. Before I click the check mark, notice how it automatically put me on the add tab this time. It's attempting to add this feature to my original tube. This is not what we want. We want a new tube. We want a separate part. So instead, I'm going to click the tab new. Notice how it changed colors. This indicates that it's a new, different part. And I click OK. Boom. Now I have a new part, but I need the tube generated again. Luckily, we have a FeatureScript for that. My settings are saved from the previous time I used it. I click it. Boom. Tube. All right. But we're not done. There's more work to be done. Let's say I want to add some features to this. Okay? What I can do is I can go in here and I can modify this part. I can do Shift S, select the face, and go back to it. All right. I'm going to draw a line. This is going to be my center line. I'm going to press LQ for constructive. This square means that it's the midpoint along the line segment. I'm going to drag this line. Notice how it's blue when it's in line with the origin. All the way to the other side. Boom. All right. This is going to be useful. I'll tell you why in a second. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make some bearing holes. Bearings are a standard size. Bearings are 1 inch and 1/8 for hex bearings, which we use. So they're 1.125, right? But I don't want to type it like that. In this case, I am going to type it out. And the reason is because I might want to undersize this. Also, hex bearings aren't inherently the only bearing that we might use on the robot, so I don't want to say variable bearing and then it get confused later. In this case, we just know this is the only size bearing that we use on the drivetrain. Okay? All right. So I have added this, right? Now what I'm going to do is I am going to do a new feature at the origin. I'll do a circle, right? I'm going to dimension this as 1.125. And I'm going to do a rectangle off of here. It's going to be constructive. I'm doing the exact hole pattern of the gearbox. If I want to, I can go over here to this MKCAD inserter. I'm going to insert our gearbox. It's an Evo. It's an Evo 2-stage 3 motor. It's a 2-stage 3 motor, and I'm going to hide the top Neo because we won't be using it because it's illegal now this year. Okay, so this is it, right? What I did was I selected it in MKCAD and it automatically imported. I had to select what motor I was using, but that's okay. Okay, and then I'm just going to hide this top one, as well as I'm going to hide this gear. So this is how it should look for us. Oh, I'm also going to hide these bolts. I can click the I to hide it, or I can right click and notice how it has the I die and it says hide. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to take a look at this. I'm going to measure the distance between here and here. Notice how it's, when I select two objects, it gives me a output in the bottom corner, 1 inch. That's really important because we can reference that later. Okay, same thing. I'm gonna take it over here. Oh, it's 3.375. Okay, I can go back to my parts studio. I can dimension this. I can dimension this as 1, and I can dimension this as 3.375. Boom. Now, what I have just done is I've created something of the effect of a hole pattern. Okay, how big are these holes? That's a good question. Let's go back to our assembly and let's find out. Ah, they're 0.201. This is big enough for a number 10. That's the intent. So we're just gonna use our number 10 sizing and dimension these as a 10. But this is a standard size, so I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to create a variable and I'm going to call it 10, and I'm going to make it 0.196. Okay? I'm going to click enter. Boom. Okay? I'm going to make 3 more circles, and I'm going to dimension all of them as 10. All right. Now, it's okay. Go lay down. Now, what I'm going to do, do you have to go potty? Is that what it is? Okay. Give me just a second. Now that I've created my hole pattern, I'm going to attach it right here. I'm going to dimension. Let me see if I can pause. Do you know how to pause? I don't know how to pause. Oh, is this it? Nope. Okay, so I can dimension it. And let's say I dimension it to... I'm going to dimension the drop center is what I'm dimensioning. So I'm going to dimension 0.125 is 1/8 of an inch drop. Now what I can do... Hold on, buddy. Give me just a second. Now what I can do is I can dimension off the side. This is really important. I'm going to go from center to center. Press Q. And I'm going to dimension the line rather than the distance between them. Hey. You're all right. I'm going to dimension the line rather than the distance between them. I'll be right back. We're going on a little bit of a break. Come on. Let's go potty then. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to dimension this line. This dimensions the path of the chain rather than the distance between the circles. I'm going to put it as 9. Click enter. Now we have this fully constrained. Once more, I can use a new feature. I'm going to use the mirror feature. And I'm going to mirror. I'm going to select my mirror line as the origin. And I'm going to mirror this circle bearing and this line right here. Boom. Now I've finished a hole pattern. And to make it even better, instead of using the number 9, I can use a new variable as wheel distance or wheel spacing. Wheel spacing, 9 inches, enter, boom. Okay. And finally, I can press Shift E and I can extrude. We're going to use a new feature of the extrude function. We're going to use the remove feature, right? This would add it to it. We're going to use remove. And rather than do it blind 1 inch, in order to make it more adaptable to any changing variables, I'm going to do all the way through. This guarantees that I cut all the way through my part regardless of the width. Boom. In the next video, we'll take it from 2 parts to an assembly.